Turtle Island, the Iroquois creation story. Introduction. Before the world existed. Before there were tall mountains, winding rivers, or green forests rustling in the wind, before the sun ever rose in the east and the moon lit up the night sky, the world had not yet been formed. Back then, there was only the sky above, vast and sacred, and the deep black sea below, endless and untamed. There was no land, no people, nothing but the ancient silence between these two realms, sky and water. In that sky world lived mysterious spirits, noble and powerful beings. They lived in peace beside the tree of life, a magnificent glowing tree that stood tall in the center of their world, its roots piercing deep into the heavens, and its branches stretching across the blue sky. Beneath this tree was a sacred place, where spirits would come to dream, to connect with the vast universe. Among those spirits was a special woman. She was known as Sky Woman. She had a graceful presence, a heart full of love, and a sensitive soul that could feel what was coming. And then one night, Sky Woman had a strange dream. In her dream, she saw the tree of life being uprooted. Its roots tore apart, revealing a deep, dark hole beneath. She sensed something waiting below, a world yet to be born. When she awoke, the dream still lingered clearly in her mind. She shared it with the other spirits of the sky world. And then a decision was made. They would remove the tree of life to discover what lay beneath. And when the roots were pulled up, a vast emptiness was revealed, deep and silent. Sky Woman stepped forward, gazed into the opening, and she slipped, falling through. She fell and fell out of the world of the sky, through space and time. No one knew what awaited her below, for no one had ever gone that far. But as she fell, she clutched in her hands the seeds of the tree of life, the final hope of a new creation. Below, in the watery realm, lived the first creatures: birds, turtles, otters, beavers, and many others. They had never seen anything fall from the sky. But when they saw Sky Woman plummeting, they were alarmed. "We must save her," the birds cried. They flew up high, spreading their wings wide, and caught the woman before she touched the water. But there was a problem. There was no land. She needed a place to stand, to live, to plant the seeds of the tree of life. The animals gathered to discuss. Turtle spoke up, "Let her sit on my back. But we need land to build a world for her. Who can dive to the bottom and bring up some earth?" Beaver dove down first, but failed. Otter tried as well. Even loon, the deepest diver among birds, returned with nothing in its beak. Everyone was tired. Everyone was disheartened. Finally, a small creature stepped forward, Muskrat. It said, "I will try." The others looked at it, part sympathetic, part doubtful. But no one stopped it. Muskrat dove down, deeper and deeper than anyone before. Time passed, and the waters remained still. Many began to think it had made a sacrifice in vain. But then, splash, it surfaced, body exhausted, barely conscious. But in its tiny paws, it held tightly a bit of mud from the bottom. Sky Woman cradled the muskrat and whispered words of gratitude. She gently took the mud and carefully placed it on Turtle's back. Then she began to dance in a circle, spreading the seeds, her feet tapping to the ancient rhythm. And then land began to grow. With every step of her dance, every note of her song, the land expanded. From there, the first forest grew. Mountains rose. Rivers formed. And where Sky Woman danced became the very first earth, resting on the back of a great turtle. The Iroquois call this place Turtle Island. You are listening to the most sacred creation legend of the Iroquois people, a story that is not merely a myth, but the soul of all living things. If you felt moved by the beauty and depth of this story, don't forget to like the video to support the revival of these ancient legends. Subscribe to the Storylish English channel for more inspiring tales. Share this video with those who cherish culture, myth, and the wisdom of humankind. Chapter 1. When the earth grew on the turtle's back. On the vast ocean surface, where there had once been only water upon water, a new form of life was now beginning to take shape. The back of the great turtle, broad, steady, like a small island rising from the endless sea, had become the place to receive the very first seeds of the tree of life. The Sky Woman, with a heart full of gratitude and hope, began to sow those sacred seeds onto the mud brought back by the muskrat. Each seed held a miracle. When planted, they didn't just sprout, they sang the songs of life, melodies that the sky had long known but the earth was only now hearing for the first time. The Sky Woman didn't only plant, she danced around the island, following the circle of the sun, the breath of the wind, the call of life. With each turn, the land stretched farther, extending beyond the edges of the turtle's shell. The first flowers emerged from the soil, red like blood, yellow like sunlight, purple like dreams. The sky above watched, and the sea below held its breath in awe. And so, day by day, the little island on the turtle's back was little no more. It blossomed like a giant flower, unfolding petals, layers of soil, and stretching roots outward. The great turtle felt it all. It didn't speak. It only took a deep breath and exhaled, as if to accept its destiny, to become the foundation of a new world. From that day on, it never dove into the sea again. It carried the universe on its back. But life did not stop with flowers and soil. From the first tree branches, birds began to build nests. From the soft mud at the water's edge, insects crawled into the new land. Everything seemed to awaken under the footsteps and breath of the Sky Woman. She was not only the sower of seeds, she was the first mother of this world. As time passed, the Sky Woman felt the sting of solitude. She was the only soul with spirit in this new land. But within her, another life was quietly forming, a life from the sky, nourished by earth, water, and love. One day, as sunlight danced across the sea, she gave birth to a daughter. The baby had long black hair like raven's wings, eyes that sparkled like stars, and a laugh like the breeze of spring. She named her Dawn Light, for she came at the first hour of a new day, bringing hope. The Sky Woman and her daughter lived together in a world that grew with every season. They cared for the forests, learned to listen to the waves, and feel the rhythm of the moon. Dawn Light grew up with nature, and the earth grew up with her. But the spirit of the land was still unfinished. One night, when the sky was darker than usual and the wind carried a strange scent, the Sky Woman had a second dream. In it, she saw Dawn Light walking around the Tree of Life, now grown into a great tree on Turtle Island. From its roots, two beings emerged, one born of light, the other of shadow. When she awoke, the Sky Woman knew it was not just a dream. A few weeks later, Dawn Light began to feel something stir within her. She didn't understand why, but she wasn't afraid. Within her, life was once again taking form. And so began the story of the first children born on Earth, two beings who would represent the balance of light and dark, creation and destruction, peace and chaos. But that is another chapter, and you'll hear it in the next part. Do you feel the wonder of it? A world that once was only ocean now has land, flowers, living creatures, and a future waiting to unfold. All of it began with a dream, a fall from the sky, and the courage of a small creature. If you find this story meaningful, don't forget. Like this video if you believe indigenous legends deserve to be told from the heart. Subscribe to Storylish English to watch Chapter 2, The Birth of Two Brothers, Light and Shadow. Share this story with those who cherish the sacred myths and cultures of peoples around the world. Chapter 2. The Birth of the Two Siblings, Light and Darkness. On Turtle Island, the island that was steadily expanding and brimming with life, time passed like the regular rhythm of the ocean's breath. The woman from the sky was no longer just the creator, but had become the mother, the grandmother, the keeper of life, and the one who passed it on. Dawn Light, her daughter, grew up in the love and wisdom of her mother. She was the connection between the sky and the earth, between what was once divine and what was becoming human. Then one fateful day came, the day when the world was preparing to enter a new chapter, one that would no longer be just flowers and peace. Dawn Light became pregnant. No one knew who the father of the child was. Some said it was the wind god, who had come on a moonless night and whispered something into her ear. Others believed it was the tree of life itself that had gifted her the seed, as a gift from the very source. But Dawn Light never explained. She simply placed her hand on her belly, smiled quietly, and trusted in the sacredness of it all. As time passed, her belly grew, but so did the strange dreams. Every night, she dreamed of standing between two beams of light. One side was white and dazzling, while the other was deep and black. The two beams would collide, intertwine, and swirl as though competing for a place in the world. Then that moment arrived. The first pain was unlike anything she had ever felt. It wasn't just physical pain, but a tearing struggle from within. The woman from the sky immediately came to her side, holding her hand, and recognized something unusual. She didn't hear the soft songs of life, the sounds that usually accompany each new being. Instead, she heard growls, whispers, and the sound of breaking. Dawn Light fell to the ground. She cried out, not from fear, but from a strange, unfamiliar sensation. The two beings in her womb were fighting to be born first. The older sibling, the child of light, sought the traditional path, gentle, natural, like the sunlight breaking through the clouds. He was born first, and the light from his body made the forest glow like midday, even though it was the middle of the night. They named him Sapling. He was the embodiment of hope, peace, and order. His eyes were bright, his hands gentle, and every step he took on the earth made the grass grow greener. But the second child, born from the darkness, did not follow the same path. He broke through his mother's womb, carving his own way. His birth was not to be welcomed, but to declare his presence. He pushed, clawed, and emerged with the screams of his mother. The woman from the sky embraced the exhausted Dawn Light, while the second child stood watching, his eyes as dark as the deepest abyss. They named him Flint. He was the embodiment of chaos, challenge, and the darkness necessary for light to shine. The birth of Flint changed the world. The trees began to grow thorns. Insects grew fangs. Animals no longer sang but learned to stalk. Rain would sometimes be gentle and other times angry. From a world of wholeness, Turtle Island became a place of dynamic balance, a place where light and darkness coexisted, opposed, and propelled each other's growth. Sapling grew up like an artist. He created flowers with healing scents, built rivers that meandered to provide water for all creatures, and called the birds to nest. He loved and guided. Flint, on the other hand, went everywhere, distorting his brother's creations, sowing challenges, and always seeking to prove his strength. But even in his destruction, what Flint created made the world more complex, more profound. The two brothers, the two halves of the universe, could not live in harmony, but neither could they live without each other. This story is not just about light and darkness. It is about a deeper truth, that the world is not perfect, and it should not be. Every light is bright only because there is darkness as a backdrop. Every hope has meaning only after experiencing despair. The woman from the sky understood this. She embraced dawn light, who passed away after giving birth to her 2 sons, and buried her beneath the roots of the tree of life. From then on, every spring, the tree would bloom as if mourning, but also as a greeting to the new seeds waiting to be born. Turtle Island, the island on the back of the turtle, was no longer just a place to sow seeds. It had become the place of eternal opposition, where beauty met challenge, and where a question that humankind would forever seek an answer to was born. How can we live between light and darkness while keeping our hearts whole? Stay tuned for the next chapter, the first battle of wits, when 2 forces clash for the right to shape the world. If you find this story captivating, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the Storylish English channel to catch the next chapter, and share this legend to let more people discover the ancient wisdom of the Iroquois. Chapter 3: The First Battle of Minds, when 2 forces clash. Since the birth of Sapling and Flint, Turtle Island had never been the same. It had become a silent battleground for 2 opposing forces, light and darkness, order and chaos, creation and destruction. Every time Sapling created a new species of tree, Flint would find a way to make its leaves fall too soon or twist its trunk into unnatural shapes. When Sapling created gentle and swift deer, Flint would create cunning wolves to hunt them. The 2 never stopped creating, never stopped challenging each other. And so, the world grew larger, richer, but also more tense. One day, before dawn broke, Sapling stood in the forest he had created, a peaceful place where birds sang, streams babbled, and all creatures lived in harmony. But this time, Sapling was not smiling. He bent down, looking at the lingering scorch marks on the trunk of an ancient tree. Flint had come, and left behind a challenge. On the scorched wood, a crude message appeared. If this world belongs to only one being, it must be the stronger one. Let us decide through intellect, not with swords, but with the power of creation. Sapling understood. It was time. The battle of minds had begun. They met at the junction of earth and sky, on a flat plateau, a place with no life, just dry land and still winds. A neutral ground, belonging to no one. Flint spoke first. We will take turns creating life. 3 times. No one can interfere with the other's creation. Afterward, let the world decide who is stronger. Sapling nodded. Not to dominate, but to balance. If you win, the world will learn to face darkness. If I win, the world will learn to follow the light. The first round began with Sapling. He stepped forward, placed his hand on the ground, and from the earth sprouted a new plant, corn. Golden cobs grew tall and straight, with firm and sweet kernels. Sapling said, "This is food for all creatures. It not only nourishes, but also teaches people to sow, care for, and be patient." Flint watched, sneered, and stepped forward. From his hand, the earth cracked open and a wild grass sprouted, a weed that took root deeply, quickly spreading across the land, wrapping itself around the roots of the corn and competing for nutrients. Flint said, "True life must know competition. Those who are not strong enough will be eliminated." The second round. Sapling created a deer, graceful, swift, grazing on grass, living in herds, always knowing how to avoid danger. The deer teaches us sensitivity, humility, and the ability to sense danger without violence. Flint only chuckled coldly. He slammed his hand onto the earth, creating a wolf. If there is only weakness, the world will be filled with passive beings. The wolf is a challenge. It forces the deer to run faster, to choose wiser paths, and to realize that life is a game of adaptation. The final round. Sapling sighed. He knew he had to do something grand. He stood tall, gazed up at the sky, then called the wind, rain, and light to come. From all these elements, he created humans. The humans Sapling created were tall, with bright faces, able to speak, learn, and live in harmony with nature. They will be the caretakers of this world. They will plant, learn, remember the legends, and live as part of the earth. Flint frowned. He looked at these humans with disdain. Too weak. Watch what I will do. Flint scooped a handful of mud, blew a dark breath into it, and created another human, still human, but with eyes full of suspicion, hands eager to take, and a stomach that would never be full. This is the true human. They will compete, they will fight, and they will never sit idly by while the trees grow. They will cut down the whole forest if they see fit. Both stepped back. The battle was over. Neither won nor lost. From that day on, the world had both deer and wolves, corn and weeds, light and darkness, creators and destroyers. The woman above the sky watched from afar, saying nothing. She knew this was necessary. Without Sapling, the world would never have hope. But without Flint, humanity would never learn how to overcome itself. And so, from this first battle of minds, the Iroquois tell a lesson that no era can erase. The world does not choose one side. The world chooses both. For only when light and darkness coexist does life truly become whole. Look forward to the next chapter, The Human Mind, When Choices Shape Destiny. If you find this story inspiring, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the Storylish English channel, and share it so more people can discover the legendary wisdom of the Iroquois. Chapter 4. The Human Mind, When Choices Shape Destiny. Since Sapling and Flint created the first two humans, Turtle Island entered a new era, the era of choices. Humanity woke up on a still young land where everything was new and mysterious. They walked among the lush forests, beneath the warm sunlight, and across the crystal-clear streams that Sapling had gifted. But alongside that, they soon faced hidden dangers, poisonous plants, wild beasts, and even whispers in their hearts that they could not fully understand. Within each human, two bloodlines flowed, the light from Sapling and the darkness from Flint. And so, from the very beginning, humans were not a homogeneous species. Some chose to live in harmony with nature. Others chose to seize, to build power to dominate others. The woman in the sky, the mother of the two brothers, watched humanity from the high clouds. She saw the growing conflicts. She called Sapling to her and gently asked, "You have gifted humans with intelligence and compassion, but is that enough to protect them from the temptations of evil?" Sapling bowed his head, his gaze thoughtful. "I have given them choices, and from those choices, they will learn the truth about themselves." Soon, the first human village appeared, a small community by a lake, surrounded by the forests Sapling had planted. The villagers lived by fishing, growing corn, and sharing everything they had. The first harvest was bountiful. Children laughed on the grassy fields, and adults sang around the campfire. But on the edges of the village, in the unexplored shadows, a group of people began to whisper among themselves. They felt envy when they saw their neighbors with more fish. They felt slighted when their words were not heard. They began hoarding, hiding food, building fences around their homes. One night, a man named Turok, a skilled hunter, decided not to share the deer meat he had caught with the village, as he usually did. He hid it in a leather pouch and brought it back to his family. When asked, he simply said, "I hunted it, I have the right to keep it." His words spread quickly like the wind. People began to doubt each other. Sharing slowly turned into scheming. The laughter grew quieter, replaced by closed doors and cold stares. That night, Flint appeared in Turok's dream. He spoke without words, simply placing a black stone, hard as iron, in Turok's hand and whispered, "The strong survive. The weak submit." Turok woke up, his heart heavy. The black stone remained in his hand. From then on, he became the first to build a wall around his land. He defended his right to own. He began demanding a fairer share for his efforts. And others followed suit, mimicking his actions. However, within that village, there was still a girl named Nita, the daughter of the oldest medicine woman. Nita grew up with the corn, the streams, and the stories of Sapling. She still shared fish with her neighbors, cared for the elderly, and gathered dry branches for the evening fire. When asked why she kept her goodness even though others were changing, Nita smiled. Because the light is still within me. I choose it every day. From afar, Sapling saw Nita. And he understood, no matter how far darkness spread, as long as there was one person choosing the light, hope would never truly fade. Time passed. The villages split into two paths. Some followed Flint's way, living for themselves, building high walls and sharpening weapons. Others followed Nita's words, still sharing, still teaching children the stories of the woman in the sky, still believing in the light. But strangely, neither village was wholly good or bad. In Flint's village, there were still mothers helping each other in secret. In Nita's village, there were also children who grew angry, selfish, and argumentative. And so, the Iroquois tell that darkness and light do not reside in the world outside, but within every human mind. Turtle Island does not require us to be angels. It only asks one thing. Every day when we wake up, we must choose between lighting or extinguishing the flame within us. The battle between Sapling and Flint, in fact, never ended. It continues in every small choice made by each person. And now, what about you? Will you choose the light, like Nita? Or will you let Flint's black stone grow heavier in your hand? Stay tuned for the next chapter. The lesson from the turtle, the foundation of steadfastness. If you love this story and want to continue exploring deep legends from indigenous culture, don't forget to like, subscribe to the Storylish English channel, and share the video so more people can understand the philosophies hidden behind the mist of fairy tales. Chapter 5. The Lesson from the Turtle, the Foundation of Steadfastness. On Turtle Island, the land born from sacrifice and hope, every creature has its place in the sacred circle of life. But none are more sacred and revered than the turtle, the creature that offered its back as the first foundation for the world. As the first tribes learned to survive on the island, they often looked at the slow-moving turtles crawling along the shores, their eyes tranquil as if carrying the memories of millennia. And it was from this observation that the elders began to tell their children that all enduring values start from inner steadfastness, like the turtle. One day, a young man named Awan went to speak with the tribe's elder. Full of youth, intelligence, and ambition, he said, "Elder, I want to build a house for myself. A very large house, so that everyone will know who I am." The elder looked at the young man for a long time before pointing to the ground. "Then first, learn to place the first stone. But do not rush. Watch the turtle. When you understand how it lives, you will know how to begin properly." One left, confused. What is so special about a turtle? He thought. But out of respect for the elder's words, he began to observe the turtles over many days. He saw that the turtle never rushed. It moved slowly, with each step deliberate. When it rained, it pulled its head into its shell. When the sun rose, it moved forward again. It did not compete with anyone. It did not boast. Yet, whether it rained heavily or floods came, it endured, it lived, and it kept moving forward. One day, Awan saw a turtle overturned by a strong gust of wind. He rushed to help it flip over. But instead of moving on, the turtle turned back and bowed its head to thank him with a gentle gaze. At that moment, Awan understood. True strength does not lie in speed or size. It lies in adaptability, perseverance, and gratitude. Awan returned and began building his house. But this time he did not rush. He chose high, solid ground. He took stones from places that had stood firm through storms. He did not seek to make it the biggest, but to make it the most steadfast. And from the roof of his house, he carved a small turtle as a reminder. From then on, the entire tribe learned to live in the spirit of the turtle. They built houses with their hands, but with their hearts. They taught the children, when you are humble and patient, you will never be defeated. They told each other that it was the turtle that carried the entire world on its back, never complaining, never boasting, just silently supporting. But the lesson from the turtle was not only for individuals, it was also for the community. At one point, 3 neighboring tribes began to dispute their borders. Each believed the land belonged to them. The conflict escalated, risking war. At that moment, an elder from one of the tribes stood up and recited the legend of the first great turtle. Our ancestors did not claim land with spears, but with trust. If the turtle can carry the entire world, where everyone has a place, why can we not live together on this land? All 3 tribes fell silent. They decided to build a stone circle, where representatives of each tribe would place their hands on the central stone and swear to live in harmony, together caring for the shared land, just as the legs of the turtle hold up its shell. Since then, the Iroquois people have seen the turtle symbol as an image of foundation, steadfastness, longevity, and profound wisdom. Today, if you visit the lands once inhabited by the Iroquois, you will see many ceramics, embroidered cloths, and badges featuring the image of the turtle. On its back is the world, homes, trees, people. It is not just a symbol, it is a reminder. Live like the turtle, not in speed, but in rightness, not in size, but in steadfastness, not in winning, but in enduring. So what about you? What are you chasing after? What foundation are you building your life upon, speed and ego, or sustainability and mindfulness? Remember, everything great begins with a small step, as long as that step is placed on a solid foundation. And if this story has inspired you, please like, subscribe to the Storylish English channel, and share this video with those seeking a steady path in a world full of changes. See you in Chapter 6, The End. Turtle Island and the Eternal Promise. Chapter 6. Turtle Island and the Eternal Promise. Many generations have passed since the world was formed on the back of the turtle. But for the Iroquois, that memory never fades. It lives in every story told around the fire, in the harvest dance, and in the eyes of the elders when they gaze at the setting sun, where they believe the spirits of their ancestors still whisper. On Turtle Island, that original land, humans live in harmony with nature, not above it, not below it, but as a part of the sacred circle of life. Every stream is a vein, every breeze is a breath, and every creature, from the smallest bird to the mighty bear, is kin. But the world does not remain in harmony. It changes. One day, strangers from the east arrived. They brought great ships, strange languages, and unfamiliar tools. They did not understand that the land they had set foot on was not just earth. It was a living body, the body of a spirit, the spirit of the turtle. The Iroquois welcomed them as guests. They shared food, taught them how to farm, and showed them the way through the woods. But gradually, the greed of the newcomers grew bigger than their gratitude. They did not listen to the legends. They did not feel the life force of the land. To them, Turtle Island was just land to be claimed, not a living entity to be protected. The Iroquois grieved. They saw the forests felled, the rivers polluted, and animals hunted without mercy. Each time a tree fell, they said, "A bone of the turtle is broken." Each time a well ran dry, they whispered, "The breath of Mother Earth weakens." But instead of seeking revenge, they withdrew, preserving the sacred parts of their land. They buried the legend in lullabies, teaching their children that when the last person remembers the name of the turtle, the world will not fall apart. When the last person still listens to the wind, the spirit of the earth has not yet gone. Generations passed. Modern life exploded. Cities grew. Machines replaced people. But somewhere, in the storms of climate change, in the wildfires, in the desperate cries of the oceans, humanity began to listen again. One day, a little girl named Asha asked her grandmother, "Grandmother, why does the earth shake?" The grandmother smiled sadly. "Because the turtle is bending under the weight, my dear. Its back hurts from all we've placed upon it without thanking it." Asha could not sleep that night. The next morning, she took a picture of the great turtle carrying the world on its back. She placed the picture under a stone and whispered, "Thank you, turtle. We will live differently." From that moment on, the story of Turtle Island was told again, not as an ancient legend, but as a living warning. In many places, people began to return to nature. They planted forests, built community gardens, and preserved rivers. Young people like Asha wrote books, made films, and called for the community. We do not stand on earth, we live in it. We do not carry the turtle, it carries us every day. And so, the eternal promise was renewed. When humanity still remembers the turtle, when gratitude outweighs greed, when every action begins with awareness, then the world still has hope. Turtle Island, in the hearts of the Iroquois, has never disappeared. It quietly hides beneath every piece of earth, waiting for a generation that knows how to listen. In their dreams, the elders still see the turtle's back moving, steady, slow, but never stopping. And if you ever feel too small in this chaotic world, remember that the entire universe once began with a small grain of earth on the back of a humble creature. It is not power that creates life. It is the steadfastness, compassion, and silent sacrifice. Thank you for joining us on the journey of Turtle Island, where it begins, where it ends, and where the soul of humanity can find its purest peace. If you feel the values of this story resonate with your heart, please like, subscribe to the Storylish English channel, and share this video with those seeking a connection to nature and their roots. See you in the next Legends, where we not only learn English but also learn how to live from ancient lessons.